everybody. So as the NHL season is coming down to the final few weeks here, most teams have 10 or less games remaining in the playoff races for the fourth spot in really all four divisions is going to come down right to the wire. It seems we have some nuts playoff battles going on, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to take a look at the standings and just see how close these races in each division for the fourth and final playoff spot really is with so few games left. So before we get into it, I just ask you to please subscribe and hit that thumbs up if you haven't. It helps the channel an absolute ton and is greatly appreciated. But let's take a look here, starting with the West Division. Obviously, Vegas, Colorado, and Minnesota are locked in. But look at that race for the fourth spot right now in the West between Arizona and St. Louis. Right now, the Coyotes have a 1-point lead over the Blues. However, the Blues have 3 games in hand right now over the Coyotes, so plenty of time for them to make up that 1 point if they can win any of those games in hand. But with the remaining games left, another, 11 games for St. Louis, and another 8 for Arizona. It's going to come right down to it. I think the Blues are going to be the team that gets in. The Blues are definitely in the driver's seat right now with the games in hand. However, neither of these teams have been playing all that well recently. Arizona is 3-7 in their last 10 games, and St. Louis isn't much better at 4-6. So neither team's playing all that well right now. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I think the Blues get that final playoff spot, but it's still very much up for grabs. Moving on now to the Central Division. Obviously, you have the top 3 teams in the Central in a very similar situation as the top 3 teams in the West, where they're all close and they're all pretty much going to make the playoffs. They haven't officially clinched yet, but we know that these 3 teams are going to be in the playoffs this year. Then we have the 4th spot, which Nashville currently is in right now through 49 games played. They only have 7 games remaining, so Nashville does not have that many games left. Dallas, with 2 games in hand, is just 2 points behind the Predators with 52. And then Chicago, trying to hang around 5 points back at 49 points with 48 games played. I think it's pretty unlikely at this point that the Blackhawks are going to be able to pass both of these teams. So to me, it's really coming down to the Predators and the Stars. And Dallas has the 2 games in hand. However, Nashville has been playing well at 6-3-1, as has Dallas. If Nashville keeps winning, obviously that's going to make it harder for the Stars to catch them. Dallas has some tough games as well in their final few this season, including Carolina starting tonight. And they have a couple of head-to-head matchups later in the week against Nashville. Those head-to-head matchups between these 2 teams could legitimately just decide who goes to the playoffs and who doesn't. So those are going to be absolutely massive games, and it's really hard to say which of these 2 teams is going to get in the Central. I think it's completely up for grabs at this point, and those head-to-head matchups will probably decide it. Moving on now to the East. The East is very, very tight right now. You have 11 points separating 1 through 5. The Rangers are just 4 points back of the Bruins for the 4th spot. However, the Bruins are only 3 points back of the Islanders for the 3rd spot. So this still has time to really shake up here and kind of move around. Obviously, Boston has a game in hand over the Islanders and 2 games in hand over the Rangers. So that is definitely a benefit to the Bruins. They also have some winnable games the rest of this season against teams like New Jersey, and they've got a couple of head-to-head matchups remaining against the New York Rangers, which again, those head-to-head matchups could end up determining who goes to the playoffs and who doesn't. Right now, I think Boston is going to get the 4th spot and make the playoffs. I mean, we maybe even could see the Islanders drop down to 4. But if Boston loses, then the Rangers are certainly still well within striking distance here. The 2 games in hand are going to be big, though. It's hard to make up 4 points in 7 games when the other team has 9 games remaining. So those games in hand really might come in and benefit the Bruins in the end, and I think Boston is going to make the playoffs, but it's still a race, and the Rangers are right there, and they do have a couple of head-to-head matchups remaining this season. And finally, that brings us to the North Division, and let me tell you, I thought the North was done like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I thought the 4 teams at the top were going to be your 4 playoff teams, but Montreal has been really, really struggling. They're almost trying to give this playoff spot away, it seems. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. They've lost 2 straight, and Calgary is catching up with only 4 points back now with 45 points. Now, the Canadiens do have a game in hand, but this is getting really, really close. A lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And then don't forget about the Vancouver Canucks. They are only 8 points back, which, again, 8 points is a lot at this point in the season. However, Vancouver has played way less games because they were shut down for almost a month. They have 5 games in hand over the Montreal Canadiens and 6 games in hand over the Calgary Flames. Vancouver, if they were to win all or most of those games in hand, could end up catching both of these teams and still has a chance to steal the 4th spot if Montreal continues to lose and Calgary starts losing. So, the North is far from over. I mean, Vancouver's still in it because they haven't played nearly as many games. Calgary is really trying to catch Montreal, and they are winning their head-to-head matchups against the Canadiens, and the Canadiens have really got to start winning here. Going, 3-7 in a 10-game stretch when you are trying to hold on to a playoff spot is not doing yourself any favors. And they have another head-to-head matchup against the Flames tonight. They really need to win that one. They really need to win that one, or they are in trouble here, because that would be a win for Calgary tonight would make that a 2-point difference with, another 8-9 games remaining for these two teams. So it's definitely not over in the North like I thought it was a few weeks ago. Calgary and Vancouver have done a great job catching up. And Montreal has not done a great job at holding that playoff spot, and they're allowing Calgary and Vancouver to catch up with their poor play. So those are the playoff races going on around the league for the 4th spot. Every single division, all 4 of them have some sort of race and some sort of close race going on right now. There's no division you look at and just be like, all right, well, that's over. That is what it is. Like, we don't know who's going to get those 4 spots in almost really all the divisions. I think the East, obviously, Boston is in the driver's seat and controls their destiny, but the Rangers are right there. And, the Rangers have been winning a lot recently as well. The West, I think, is completely up for grabs between St. Louis and Arizona. I do think the Blues have the better chance because of those 3 games in hand that they have. That's going to come up big when they're only 1 point behind. The Central, to me, is completely, the Central is the one that I have no clue who's going to get it. Whether it's the Predators or the Stars, I have no idea who's going to get it. That one is the one race that I think is a complete coin flip and really, really could go either way. But there are some awesome playoff races going on here the last few weeks of the regular season. It looks like it's really going to come down to the wire. And then seeding as well is also coming down to the wire. We haven't, this video is about trying to get into the playoffs, that 4th spot. But within the teams that are already making the playoffs, the seeding, who's going to finish 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all of that still very much up for grabs in most of these divisions. So it's going to be some really fun and exciting hockey to watch with a lot on the line over these next, 3 weeks or so. And then we'll be getting into the playoffs. And that, as we know, playoff hockey, there's nothing like it. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, links to our Patreon merchandise store donation link and channel memberships are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.